Warning, the following story is classified as real. However, neither I nor you were present at the scene of the events. That being the case, let's keep an open mind to any possibility and let everyone draw their own conclusions. I am the documentarian. And this is the man who was trapped in the Bermuda Triangle. The story that a man has told the authorities in Florida, United States is shocking. It seems like something out of a science fiction movie, however, that's not the case. What happened to Tomás Brown, who was 56 years old at the time on October 29, 2009? It could provide new ways to reveal the secrets surrounding this enigmatic place, giving rise to new theories, and even explain certain events that have occurred in this area and still remain unanswered. Tomás Brown set out to sea with his boat from Florida in Surfside Beach. He left a note in the hotel room for his wife, Martha, telling her that he had gone out for a boat ride and would be back soon. It is worth noting that Tomás Brown had been working at a pool construction company for 30 years, and that same day he and his wife were going to a ceremony where he would be honored for his long career. But what no one knew is that this would be the last time they would hear from Tomás. In the next 7 years, Brown disappeared. The authorities ended their search and no one had seen him anywhere, not family or friends, nothing. It was as if the earth or the sea had swallowed him up. The years went by and his wife Martha still remembered him with great affection. She was in the same house that they had bought together and that now was only visited from time to time by her children and grandchildren. It was on August 25th, 2016 that Martha received a phone call from the Florida police in which they only told her that she needed to urgently go to the North Broward Medical Center. To deal with the matter regarding the disappearance of her husband, Tomás Brown, Martha took everything calmly. She believed that they had probably found the boat somewhere and now they would ask her to identify it. However, and as you may have already guessed, when Martha arrived at the medical center, her soul was shattered in two. When she saw her husband, Tomás, sitting on a hospital stretcher, tired, thin, smelly, and toothless, crying with happiness to see her, but without the strength to run and hug her. "It's him!" shouted a police officer. Both spouses embraced tightly and cried with happiness. The statement, Tomás says that he went out to relax a bit on his boat, look at the horizon and think. He was feeling nostalgic, remembering everything he and his wife had been through together and how far they had come. After a few minutes of reflection, Tomás decided to head back home, but when he tried to start the engine of his boat, it wouldn't start. Something was wrong, but he didn't know what. Everything seemed to be in order. Nothing was broken or out of place. So he decided to use the radio, but it was all in vain. The radio didn't work either, only static and nothing else. Afterwards, he used a flare to see if any ship or boat in the area would see him, but that didn't work either. He tried several more things, but apparently he would have to wait to be rescued. He decided to take things calmly until night came. That's when he decided to launch the second flare. Again, nothing. Then Tomás tried to sleep. The next morning, the rocking of the ship could no longer be felt. It seemed as if it had been anchored to the dock. But when Tomás opened the door of his small room, the sunlight blinded his eyes. Feeling his way, he managed to get out, and little by little, his eyes adjusted to the light of that bright sun. It was an island with plants and sand like any other. But what immediately caught Thomas's attention the most? It was a kind of moss, red in color, spread everywhere that he had never seen before. And he, as a pool builder, really knew all about the different types of moss. However, this one was strange, red, and had a metallic smell. The whole island smelled like it. Farther away, there were at least a dozen more boats stranded like his, parts of an airplane fuselage, and a monkey that was watching him from afar. Tomás got out of the boat, decided to explore the island in search of civilization, but he only walked for an hour before returning to the same spot. He knew it. During the night, he had run aground on the deserted island and had to wait to be rescued or try something to get noticed. But days went by, and nothing and no one passed by that island. The reserve food in his boat was running out. He had to go out to look for water and food, and so the days, weeks, and months went by. He had managed to get water from the leaves of the plants in the morning, and a water collection process called condensation, which consisted of digging a deep hole and filling it with seawater. Put another empty container inside, and finally, cover everything with plastic that would collect the produced vapor and deposit it in the empty container. He learned to make fire with the red moss that was so abundant on the island, built a shelter, collected dry firewood for rainy days, and made a bed out of palm leaves. He ate something that looked like oysters and sometimes managed to catch a small fish. He learned to extract roots from the trees to eat them and kept a can of tuna for emergencies. Soon, Tomás began to get tired of eating the same food all the time and remembered that monkey that always watched him from afar. That was good because now he had something to do. Tomás set out to hunt the monkey. One day he saw the monkey up in a tree, but when he got there it was already gone. Another day he saw the monkey on top of the boat, and again, when he got to it, it had vanished. He tried to catch the monkey several times, but he never succeeded. Almost a year had passed since that event when he noticed that his lips were covered in sores. His mouth was dry and he had lost a lot of weight. Now he was thin, without strength or hope. Scurvy took over him, and now his teeth were starting to fall out. Time was running out for him, and he knew that sooner or later he was going to die alone on that island. And that he would probably be the one to become food for the monkey, but he refused to let that happen. So he made a decision. He made a kind of sail for the boat and a pair of oars. He thought that if he died, at least he would die trying. So Tomás once again set out on a journey toward the unknown sea. He spent the whole day rowing with a blank stare, thinking that maybe he was already crazy and maybe he had already died and that this was hell. Night fell, he put down his oars and got ready to sleep. He heard some loud knocks on the door. "Is anyone there?" It was a voice. With fear, Tomás stood up and opened the door. They were two men in Coast Guard uniforms. He stared at them in disbelief, utterly astonished. He looked them up and down, examined them, smelled them, touched them, and then collapsed, crying on the floor of that ugly, neglected cabin, because they had rescued him. Tomás was taken to the North Broward Medical Center. His wife, Martha, was notified and he was discharged in a few days. However, there are still some curious things that leave a lot to our imagination. For example, why a monkey? Was it real or just a product of his imagination? 2. There is no red moss, at least in that part of the world, and the known red moss lives in fresh water, not salt water. So what kind of moss was this then? 3. Thomas claims to have kept track and said he was on that island for almost a year, but we know it was 7. Is it possible that Thomas traveled through time, or did he just miscount? 4. Where were the ships and the plane on the island from? 5. Why did Tomás decide to come back until he spent a year on the island? 6. Was the island another dimension? Leave your comments down below. I'm interested to know what you think about it. I'm the documentarian, and this was the man who was trapped in the Bermuda Triangle. Thank you, and see you next time.